Sony really outdid themselves here. Hey guys, how's it going? Justin here from Waltz, and today we're taking a look at the Sony A95K Premium OLED, which is said to be one of the best, if not the best, TVs on the consumer market. Now, there's a ton to cover with this TV, so we're going to break it up into 4 parts: picture quality, features and design, audio, and of course my final thoughts. So with that being said, let's jump right into the picture quality. Now, the A95K does come with a native resolution of 4K, which means there's going to be 8.3 million pixels on this screen. But what's more impressive than that? The fact that it is an OLED TV. And if you're not familiar with OLED, what it stands for is Organic Light Emitting Diode. And this is a different technology than we're used to in most conventional TVs. I've done tons of videos on OLED TVs and done a great job of explaining kind of how they work. But essentially, to kind of dumb it down for someone who might not really understand what the technology might mean, is basically most TVs, they come with lighting that lights the pixels from the edge or from the back, or a combination of the both, but usually it's edge lighting if it's a cheaper set, backlighting if it's kind of expensive, and then OLED is usually the most expensive because each individual pixel actually has its own light. So rather than having lighting zones, each individual pixel can turn itself off: red, green, blue, and white. In some technologies like this TV, it uses a blue filter and not the white. So, I mean, it's just, you can get really confusing, but OLED is the best because you can get the darkest darks and the best contrast because of that. So with that comes support for HDR10 and Dolby Vision. Now, this TV is equipped with artificial intelligence upscaling, and if you're not familiar with the term upscaling, essentially what upscaling does is it predicts every pixel that is missing when taking a smaller image and making it look like a larger image. So what would this be looking like? Well, maybe you're watching a 1080p movie that, just happened to be playing from, I don't know, DirecTV. What the TV is actually going to do is it's going to scale it up to 4K because that's how many pixels and the resolution of the TV. But what it's going to do is it's actually going to predict every single pixel that is not there, because when you scale it up, you're kind of like stretching it. And so we're filling in the gaps. And with AI versus normal, most TVs have normal, but the upper end TVs like this one has artificial intelligence, which actually uses machine learning to better predict the object recognition, or things like your face, or buildings, whatever it is. It's just more sharp than your typical upscaling. And this is all going to be handled by the cognitive XR processor, which not only helps with the screen quality, but helps in some other areas as well. So that'll lead us right into our next part. So we talked about processing power and how it's important for the screen quality, but something else that is really important for is the operating system. People often forget this, but I think this is really important to notice, because you have to remember, you could have a okay or good looking TV, but if it takes 10 years to type in a password because the remote's so slow, it's not the remote's fault, it's the processor's fault. And that's what you get when you go with a premium TV, is, getting rid of those struggles. And the A95K is going to come with a customized version of Android 10. And what I like about this operating system is that it doesn't come with all the clutter and junk and extra apps that you're never going to use when you first power it on. It's kind of more customizable, and you don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. I do like most of the operating systems out there outside of the super cheap TVs, but overall, just a great operating system, and I think a lot of people tend to like it on the Sony. And obviously, to control it, you're going to need a remote. So I really like what they did with the A95K remote. I think that, they went for a smaller design because they don't want this giant, bulky, brick style remote just sitting on your coffee table. It's actually, I would say, perfect sized in my opinion, and it has a very clean and sleek look. Not to mention the polyurethane finish makes it really easy to clean, and all your smart apps and all that are on there as well. Oh, and something that you might not have known is that you can actually use the remote to control other things like your PS5 or other devices. If you guys are enjoying the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Let's talk connections. The A95K does come with two HDMI 2.0 ports and also two HDMI 2.1 ports. And yes, there's support for eARC. This is kind of a bummer though, because I do know that other premium TVs out there in the market have switched to having four HDMI 2.1 ports. So this is kind of the spot where Sony's lacking a little bit. However, it just depends on how many devices you're going to have and all that kind of fun stuff, because you are getting pretty much the best picture out of this TV. So it's really a give and take at that point. But outside of HDMI connections, it's also going to come with two USB ports, so you can plug in whatever media you'd like to play. And of course, we can't forget about the optical for your soundbar. Oh, and another cool thing about the A95K is it does come with some speaker terminal jacks, so you can actually use this as a center channel in your surround system. And since we're on the topic of HDMI ports 2.1, 2.0, we might as well talk about gaming. It does have a refresh rate of 120 hertz, which is going to be perfect for all the next-gen consoles. And make sure that you are plugged into one of those 2.1 ports, because if you're not, then you're kind of screwing yourself over. But overall, the gaming on this TV is pretty intense. But maybe you don't have a console and maybe you just have a cell phone. Well, it does have Chromecast built in and AirPlay too, so if you have some mobile games that you're playing, you could cast them onto your TV if you wish. Man, I feel like we've already covered so much, but we're not quite done. The A95K sure does have a whole lot of features. So let's continue. Another thing I really like about this TV is the incredibly thin bezels, but what's more impressive is how thin the panel is, and most of you would probably know that that's because it's an OLED TV, and there is no backlighting or edge lighting that would make the bezel thick or the panel thick as well. They're both very, very thin, and this helps with, overall weight. If you're mounting this on the wall, it's gonna be super light, way lighter than any other TV. However, the stand itself is actually very heavy. And when I say heavy, I don't mean bad, because I think it's an awesome stand. Something really cool about this stand is the fact that it's actually reversible, so it has two different modes. I don't remember what the modes are called, but basically you have one where the base is showing in the front and the TV can sit more flush to the wall, or you have one where the TV is flush at the front and the stand kind of sits in the back, and both look pretty good in my opinion. I like the flush look just because it seems more modern, more techy, but for some reason, if you're in a tighter space and you needed to push it back a few more inches, you could definitely do that with the stand. Another hidden feature on this TV is the cable management. And if you guys remember watching the video I did on the X95K, you'd know about the hidden panel cable management. It has the same technology as that TV, and basically if you look at the back, it's very exposed, you see everything, and then once you put these panels on, it actually covers up the cables, and it's actually very, very hard to see where these panels are because of the mesh style, square. I don't even know what to call it, but the design on the back just allows for it to not be seen. And I think this is one of those attention to detail kind of features that you get in a super premium TV. And lastly, let's talk about the Bravia Cam. And no, this is not a webcam. I know it might seem like a webcam and it operates like a webcam, but it's not a webcam. Essentially what the Bravia Cam is a motion tracking device. And I know you might be thinking, why would I ever need a motion tracking device on my TV? Well, the real reason that you get this, and believe me, this is just how much they care about their products and how much they think about them, is that they actually motion tracks you throughout your room so that when you're, listening to something on the TV, it actually follows you. So if you move maybe to the kitchen, it'll go over to the left if that's where your kitchen is. And this is just kind of like over the top, engineering in my opinion, but I thought it was a really cool feature. You don't have to have this if you don't want it on your TV. It does come detached. It plugs into the back, and then if you wanted it, but maybe you don't like, the fact that it's a camera, it does actually have a manual privacy shade, similar to what you would see for, some of your work from home webcams. I mean, just think about the extra time put into the design of a feature like this. Someone was like, hey, what would be cool is if the audio followed you whenever you moved in the room. And then they're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then they took all the extra time to develop a motion tracking camera that would allow for that. Pretty crazy stuff, but since we're talking about audio, that leads us into our next part. Now, when it comes to audio, this TV might actually be one of the best and does not have a crappy audio system like most TVs. Besides the motion tracked audio that we already talked about, the A95K does have transducers in the screen that pushes the audio through the screen, which really helps for voices and things like that. If you're going to be hooking this up to a full surround system, using it as a center channel is not a bad idea. And if you're running dry with absolutely nothing, it even does have some height speakers on the back that push up, bounce audio off the walls to give you an even more realistic surround experience. Again, it's only going to get as realistic as it can get with the TV out of the box. So when we're talking about TV audio out of the box, it's actually one of the best, if not the best, in that type of category. Sony has definitely put a lot of their time to making this TV as perfect as they possibly could, not just in the audio department, but in others as well. So if you're placing this in a small to a medium-sized room, the bass is not going to be crazy, the super realistic surround is not going to be crazy, but it will work. If you're placing it in a bigger room, or you're just someone who really cares about audio, then I really do recommend going with a soundbar subwoofer combo, because it is going to be able to fill those lows that you're just not going to get out of any TV, alongside better heights and pretty much everything. It's just usually better to get a soundbar if you can. But like I said, if you're in a small room or maybe a medium room and it works for you, it might work for you. I really am a big believer in soundbars or external sound systems. They can just get a little bit pricey, so it just depends on what kind of route you go. For a TV like this, you probably want a pretty nice one, something like the 7000 that Sony makes. I know that's gotten a lot of good reviews, but it really just comes down to, what your priorities are. Now, that's all for audio. Move on to our next point. Some of the things that I'm personally really interested in is obviously, one, the Bravia Cam, because we don't have this on any other TV that I know of. The fact that it can motion track and put the audio where you are is a really cool feature in my opinion. I don't think this is going to be working with like a surround system and a receiver, because that's different technology, but I mean, still, it's just kind of a really unique feature to have out of the box. Also, I just really do love the cosmetics of this TV, from the back with the cable management to the base that you can change to be a front or a back, and overall just how bright this panel is. It's an amazing TV from top to bottom, and there's really nothing I can find to not like about it, except the 2.1 ports, only having 2 versus 4. It's a bummer, but that's the least of my concerns, honestly, because I don't really watch that many external sources. The only thing that I would possibly use the 2.1 for is my PS5, which I don't have yet. So, to me, it's okay, but that's really the only gripe I could find about this TV. Now, as of now, they're only available in 55-inch or 65-inch. Maybe 2023 we'll see a bigger one come. I know a lot of people have been waiting for it, but, we don't know, and until we know, we don't know. So make sure you guys are following. That way, when it does come live, we can tell you. But in the meantime, if you guys do want to pick one of these up, we really do appreciate supporting a small business, and we will leave all the links down in the description. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I want to hear what your thoughts on the A95K are down below. I know a lot of you probably already have this TV. Let me know about your experience. I just want to hear what you guys have to say. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video. If this is a product that you're interested, make sure to email me at youtube@waltz so I can get you a special YouTube discount. If you haven't already, subscribe for more videos like these, and we'll see you in the next one.